Welcome back to the We Was Banking podcast. I'm your host, Brandon.
I'm Chanel.
I just tricked Chanel. She thought I was going to put up the intro because we're streaming live on YouTube. But we are back for episode 7 of Industry. Season 3 of Industry, episode 7, Useful Idiot. Before we get into this episode, because this was a really dense episode of content. This show, I say this every week, I'm like a robot, but they pack so much into these episodes, like just so much content into these episodes. But before we get into the episodes, just remember that you can, if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you can leave us a 5-star review. And if you do, we'll read it on the show. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/@WeWasWatching. We've gotten 33 subscribers now, so some of y'all are finding us on YouTube. We're going to start trying to make our YouTube a little bit better. So just keep subscribing and liking those videos. That'll help us out there. You can also email the show at wewasdragonspod@gmail.com, and we will read that email on the show. And we got 4 emails this week. The first email is from Karina, and she said, "Hi there, just finished your podcast episode 6, Nikki Beach, loved it. I love that you guys take your time to really delve into the meaty details that make each episode of the show so compelling, which means please don't keep the episodes under 40 minutes. I just heard you say that, Brandon, at the end of the episode and had to rally against that. See, I was up here thinking we talking too long. I didn't want to do 40 minutes. I said under 90 minutes. We went long last time.
It depends on what you're oh my gosh, sorry. It depends on what you're listening for. If you're listening during the workday, you want your favorite podcast to do 2 hours, 4 episodes a week. Like you just want to get through your day with that. So thanks for the feedback, y'all.
I listen to my podcast in 1.25 speed, so everything goes a little bit faster for me.
You're sick.
What, you don't do that?
What? So I can be stressed out and anxious, my heart beating fast?
It doesn't go as fast as you think it does.
Okay, I'm about to put you on 1.25 while we're recording.
You should try.
See if that works.
But also,
I've done it for homework. I've never done it for stuff I enjoy.
I don't know. It makes my brain work. But also, speaking of meaty, I think the blood thinners joke, this from last week, was because Eric said he wanted a steak so raw it was blue, extra bloody, nasty ass fool. Maybe it makes him feel like an apex predator. Anyway, just my guess. That's a good guess because I ain't had no idea what the hell he was talking about. No prediction or insights. Oh, go
ahead. No, you go ahead.
No predictions or insights here. Just wanted to say thank you both. Just say no to short episodes. Remember, they showed Roman Roy wiping his ejaculate off a skyscraper window on Succession. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that too.
Always the powerless goons out here going into public places. I totally forgot about that. Thank you, Karina. What were you going to say, Chanel, before we go to the next one?
I forgot about, I just, you just made me think of this post I saw earlier at Crank T. Nelson said, just found out there are people who listen to podcasts at double speed so they can, quote, consume twice the content. And so I called the police. That's what I think about. Okay, yeah. Thank you guys for the emails. They keep us going. Thank you so much.
We also got 2 emails from Kathy. The first one says, one of the fun parts of a great show that I look forward to are good recaps. I just somehow had your season 3, episode 3 Industry podcast play, and it was fantastic. I agree with all your points, and I like the way you communicate between each other. Definitely a happy new listener. Thank you, Kathy. And your second email, I think it's an old English thing. The title says your show's episode 6, Industry auto comment to Yas. Guys, hi. I think it's an old English thing that states the capital, the house, the land, and so on get entailed through the male line, and that might be what Otto was talking about. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I think America's probably more progressive in terms of like women getting things, but it ain't like that's different anywhere else, like in the world. I feel like everywhere they try to give it to the man or the boy or the firstborn or whatever.
I mean, if you want to get into the world history of it all, I think like Britain and the bullshit they used to do, the feudalism and the like patriarchy, all that is the sun didn't set on the British Empire. So all of these like men do this and women do this stuff that like we have all over the world. A lot of it came from the British, and I think it came from somewhere before that. I just don't know before
I
then.
mean,
But
every book, any history that you find from anywhere in the world, it's like that to some extent.
right, of course. Well,
Yeah.
to some extent, except for okay, sorry, this is a side note because I don't know all of world history, but there's this book that I was always like wanting to read and I never did in high school. It was like an assigned book that I skipped the reading for. And we didn't have ChatGPT back then, and
So you couldn't cheat.
we barely had Spark Notes. Remember Spark Notes?
Yes. How do you
Wow,
remember
RIP
Spark
to a
Notes?
real one. I'm not young.
Okay.
Okay, we are genuinely probably 2 months apart. I actually don't
Okay.
know how old you are or when your birthday is or what your middle name is, but in my mind, we're the same age. You probably were born on the same day.
Mm-mm.
Anyway, so as far as Spark Notes goes, remember those, right? We used to have we didn't have ChatGPT, we didn't have summaries. So there's this book called The People's History of the United States, and it's this thick. It's an omnibus of his history, and it talks about like history starting all the way from like Columbus coming over and like fucking stuff up for the natives, and it's really upsetting because history's so terrible. But my point is to say that like if you look at other societies before like the Europeans used to come around, there's not as much recorded misogyny. Like I think it's always occurred, but it's like there's something about like the turn of the turn like industrial revolution, their weapons, men walking around and people were getting on ships to go conquer the earth that like made us um particularly misogynist. And so anyway,
Absolutely.
skipping toward what we were saying on the show is like, yeah, like that's not new. It's like it just in America, they just stopped doing stuff like that to women. It was just crazy because it was like they have no shame about it. And then the women are just hanging out with their dad. Like, at least in America, I like to think most women would be like, fuck you, dad. You know, they wouldn't just be like, oh, let's still go hunting with dad, even though he doesn't give a fuck about our financial freedoms, you know. That's all we were kind of picking up on, but you're correct. Old English, absolutely.
Absolutely. Then we also got 2 reviews. I mean,
I'll
excuse
do
me.
those.
Oh, you got it
Why you
pulled
always try to
up?
take my? Yeah, you always try to take my reviews.
Well, I don't be. You don't be telling me you got it pulled up. That's my fault.
I
I
oh,
apologize.
I'm ready. When you no, it's okay. When you go into the emails, I get the pocket that was reviews. Okay, we're back to 4.5 on Apple Podcasts. Let's fucking go. We would love for you guys wherever you're listening. Follow us, like us, subscribe to us, give us 5 stars, help us pump up on the algorithm. We have 2 new reviews, as Brandon said. They're both 5 stars. We need a sound machine to do 5 star, 5 star, 5 star.
I actually
Anyway,
have a soundboard that I don't use because I didn't put any sounds on it yet. So I can
we
start
got to
doing
figure out a
some of our
5 star
favorite
sound.
drops. We can do some of our favorite
What's a
drops and put it on there. Also, if you got also before Chanel goes, if anybody's listening has any ideas for segments that they think we should do on the show, they would like us to do, send us an email. I know Chanel has some ideas, but I'm interested in what the listeners think as well. Okay,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, I know you guys love my TV recaps, and we're gonna get to those. But I would like for you to put on the soundboard. Ask Lil Wayne who the 5 star bitch is. By Nicki
Oh
Minaj.
my
That's what I want
God.
for our 5 star. That's what I want for our 5 star drop, or else I'm quitting the show. Okay, it's just better. Finally, I would podcast with some black folks that is talking about industry. Okay, I think what we're trying to say is like finally I found a podcast. There we go. With some black folks that's talking about industry. Brandon and Chanel both do a great job recapping the show. Thank you, mostly Brandon. I don't have anyone in my circle who watches the show. Exactly. That's why we did this. So this podcast is my source of community with industry. Love you back. Honestly, y'all have the best commentary on industry I found so far. I, side note, completely agree. I think we're the number one podcast doing it in industry right now. I think we're like, oh, we're good at House of the Dragons or whatever, but I'm gonna tell you right here, right now. You heard it here first. I'm gonna give it to you WWE style. We are the number one podcast on industry, and also the number one podcast on Righteous Gemstones, which doesn't get love as a recap podcast because it's a comedy. And what else are we? What else are we number one on?
We're
Brandon?
actually the number 1 podcast on industry.
Right. But then I'm
Like
saying like
literally.
quality.
I
I
know
know,
that too.
but it's not a fluke. It's not a fluke though, is what I'm saying. Like we should be
Yes.
number one, but like I feel like there's one other. We're probably the number one show on Hijack. We're probably the number one show. What else did we go through? Any show we did that nobody else is talking about, we're the number one show on that. We just want to point that out. Anyway, sorry I got distracted. Honestly, you have the best commentary. I'm biased because y'all are American and black. It is what it is. Great work and keep going. And I could have written this myself. Like It's okay to have pro-black bias. It's okay. We have like probably like 1,000 years worth of that before things are even. And then after that, no more racism. But until then, be pro-black. Okay, last one, 5 stars. This one doesn't have a title. It has 4 heart hand emojis. It says, I'm warning you all now, this show is hella addicting. You're gonna, oh wait, sorry. The first one, the 5 star from before was from Brintelligence. Thank you. This 5 star review is from Kiana Price, and it says, I'm warning you all now, this show is hella addicting. You're gonna start having fantasies of these hosts giving you feedback on every show you love. High five, 5
Thank you.
number emoji. Thank you. Man, I would love, Brandon, what you asked for people to email segments. Give us things to review. Like send us videos from weddings. Send us
Oh my
your new
God.
song. Send us dogs. Send us I was gonna say nudes. Don't do that. Send us your dating profile and we'll review that. Since they want us to review everything, I'm just saying we'll review things. That's our new segment.
I wish y'all listening could see my face right now.
Send us your new come watch it on YouTube. Send us your new hairstyle. We'll tell you if it looks good on you or not.
I know Chanel's going to talk about some nonsense Sister Wives or something or another that she's watching nonsense. But I did put a poll out last week and asked the listeners, what would you guys like us to review next week? And before that, we got a comment from Chip on Spotify, and he said, enjoyed the episode. Love hearing what you guys think about what happened the most. We saw the episode. Great point of view. Okay. I thought it got cut off. Those were just something else. So ignore that. But I put a poll up that said, what should we review next? And 50% said we should do Penguin. 10% said we should do the franchise. And 40% said we should do Other. I should have been more detailed about Other. But I think I got Chanel to watch the Penguin, and I think she kind of enjoyed it. So I think that might be what we do next. And the interesting thing is, Chanel, I don't know if you know this, but episode 1 came out last Thursday. When we were recording, we were recording on a Tuesday. Came out last Thursday, but episode 2 doesn't come out until Sunday before the finale of Industry, and then every episode subsequent will be on a Sunday. So it could be the same. We could keep the same structure because they're going to be on Sundays going forward if we do Penguin. So I didn't know if you knew that. And then lastly, we will be back next year, as long as Chanel doesn't kill me like Yasmin, to do Industry because it got renewed for season 4. So it's coming back.
There's no way. Can you imagine if they were like, hey, due to creative differences, this show, like the best season this show has ever had, like people are rave reviewing about it. The number one podcast on Industry is the number one podcast on Industry, and they're going to not do season 4. Stop it. And if you guys notice, like the creators of the show, Mickey, oh my God, and Conrad, they also directed this last episode. So that's like super exciting. Like just when you think about the creative vision of this show, like we know there's no like direct translation of Succession, but what's cool about this show is it's written by 2 guys who used to be in banking and in the industry, and whenever you read their interviews or listen to what they're talking about, they have such a particular like, this is what banking is like, and we're trying to get the essence of it and also make a good show. And I just love that for them. So I'm happy to see this show growing and see some diverse showrunners on HBO. And we're to the moon, baby.
Also, last thing, and then I'll let Chanel go. Let us know if I should get Twitter Premium. I really don't fuck with Elon like that, so I don't want to get it. But we could go live on Twitter, and we had a lot of people that used to watch on Twitter. So if y'all are listening and think it'd be cool for us to go live on Twitter, let me know in the emails or tweet me and say, hey, you should go live on Twitter. And I might do that so that we can start going live on our shows going forward. So Chanel wants me to do it, but you know, she likes Elon.
Follow us on x.com/we-was-watching. That is the podcast X. Twitter. I mean, that's where they're not going to find, they stopped rerouting you through Twitter. So
that's not true. If I type in twitter.com, it takes me to Twitter.
Okay, if you type in Twitter on your phone to pull up the app, it no longer pulls it up.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And
You're
we have
Gen
more
Z.
than 50 followers on TikTok right now, which is wonderful. So,
We're on
I mean
TikTok?
TikTok. Oh my God. No, no, no. I meant Twitter. I meant Twitter. I meant Twitter.
Oh, I
That's
was
so
about to
see, that's
say, you
yeah, like,
putting in
well,
work.
or we all over the place. I mean, eventually we will do a TikTok just to do all the socials because I think that's where podcasts can really go to like get a random audience with like the right funny clips. Um but
Agreed.
okay, damn it. Can I if I send you something, will it throw you off to have you pull it up?
What is it?
It's a clip of something. I want you to play it
Is
on
it
here.
audio or video?
It's you I don't want you to play the video. I want you to just play the audio.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, I just sent it to you on Twitter. While you do that, I'll tell you guys what I've been watching. I want to do a live. We have not planned this, but I just saw this trailer for this movie and I want to look at it with Brandon together for the first time. Um, so I this week, he's correct. I did watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And I would highly recommend that if you guys want some white foolishness, that you go watch that. There's this woman on there who's extremely villainous. Like I'm talking about a villain and it'll make you upset, it'll make you mad. All these women are delusional. The one that like you think is like the messiest, you'll actually probably end up feeling bad for her. And then the Mormonism is interesting because they're not supposed to smoke or drink or even drink caffeine and coffee. So they drink pop, like they drink soda, and they'll have soda shops where you can get like syrups added to your pop. You can get milk added
Pop.
into it. It's like a whole their soda, their whole thing. So like they will have like a 44-ounce Pepsi at 8 in the morning because they can't have coffee. And I'm just genuinely confused about how these women are like not just getting the sweats from too much soda sugar. And anyway, so it's a watch if you guys are. I mean, if you're at all on socials and you've seen like the women who watch reality TV that's been blown up. I did start the Penguin. We're definitely recapping that. I love it. I got to the end of episode 2 of Foundation, and I realized like okay, they're kicking off some other shit now. And then I'm still watching Bad Monkey. I'm not fully caught up, but I'm still watching Bad Monkey on Apple TV. And I'm also watching Slow Horses, which is a show that takes you some time to like pay attention to because like you it's not a show you can watch while you're on your phone because you'll miss details and you won't understand what the fuck's happening next. But I would highly recommend it. And oh, the Bad Monkey finale came out, so I will probably watch that soon. And I tried to get back into For All Mankind and proceeded to come right back out of it. I was bored. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I have not been able to watch too much other new stuff. Like it actually the reason why we're recording a day late is because I didn't even have time to watch Industry on Industry's Hallowed Sunday night. Um oh shit, I watched the Menendez brothers thing. I started it. And I hate to say it, but there's some true crime stuff that I'm obsessed with. Okay, gotcha. There's some true crime stuff that I see your screen. I know you're not playing anything. There's some true crime stuff that like if I watched it once, I would like rewatch it and like listen to it a couple times. And Menendez Brothers is one of them, and I haven't gotten to the trial part yet, but it is so interesting trying to figure out what you believe and the angles that they're trying to tell the story at. So TBD on that. Do you need more time?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay. I wanna see what we think about this movie. I see it.
Can you hear it?
I've seen it in here.
Okay. Chanel didn't set this up. This is a movie called Sinners.
Wait.
It's a Ryan Coogler
Sorry.
film that she wants me to watch the trailer with her online. So we'll
Wait,
watch
but
the
hold
trailer
on.
online.
Question. Will we get in trouble on YT for playing this whole thing?
They do reaction videos all the time, so you just have to stop different times through it.
Gotcha.
You gotta
Okay.
cheat the system a
Got
little
it.
bit.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
I've been all over this world.
Wait, Brandon, can you turn the audio down just a little bit?
die in ways I ain't even know was possible. Love you, brother. Be careful.
What is that accent? What the hell was that?
Did you just notice it's him? It's him twice?
I don't care. Did you hear his accent?
Okay, you got to run it back because I didn't. I
don't think you heard his accent.
There's a blue one and a red one.
Yeah, but what accent is he doing?
Love you, brother. Be careful.
Love you,
What
brother.
is that? What
you,
what
brother.
is that?
Be careful. Take care. Take care out there, bro.
What is that accent?
Be careful on that long road there yonder.
That's a Southern white man accent, not a Southern black man accent.
We don't know. Maybe it's core to the character.
I will. With all the things that I've seen.
Should know. What the hell is this accent? What is this accent?
He ruined it when he said, "I will." He sound like Brokeback Mountain.
I ain't ever seen no demons, no ghosts, no magic. Till now. To get back inside.
Let me in, man. Some weird shit going on out here. You keep dancing with the devil.
Hey, is that Woomy? I love Woomy. I love her so much.
One day he's gonna follow you home.
March 7th. Okay. It's giving the cinematography it's telling me that Ryan Coogler is telling Jordan Peele, "I'm coming for you, bitch. You're not gonna be the only black man doing horror." But then it's also giving Color Purple.
No,
and I'm
it's
just trying
worse
to
than
figure
that.
out how to.
It's stealing Jordan Peele. It's stealing Jordan Peele's trailer strategy, which is show a bunch of black people to get black people invested, put interesting music or sound behind it, and don't tell you a single solitary fuck about what the movie's about, so that everybody who watches the trailer can make it up in their own mind what the movie's about, to create interest so you to go see it. Because I'm gonna go see the fuck out this movie, although that trailer tells me nothing. What's the movie about?
Okay, hold on. I had to just. The movie is about Harpo's juke joint and Blade.
Okay, then. Exactly. In a terrible Michael B. Jordan accent.
It's True Blood meets Tyler Perry.
No, please don't say that. Don't disrespect Jordan Peele like that.
I'm just saying, it's giving. It's one of those things where I'll think about not going.
I mean, I just called him Jordan Peele, Ryan Coogler. Please don't disrespect Ryan Coogler like that.
Here's the thing about oh, that's funny. I thought you were making a joke. Here's the thing I will say about Ryan Coogler. I just want to say something about him that I would never ever take back or qualify. Ryan Coogler not code switching as a major film director is one of the sexiest things I've ever heard in my life. If you listen to Ryan Coogler, he sounds like he is still in South Central. Where let me make sure that's where he's from. Where is Ryan?
We all know, Chanel. We know by now. You generalize people. We know.
Ryan Coogler from Oakland. He's from Oakland. Okay,
that's
so
nowhere near South Central.
He's from Northern California.
Not
he's
even
from
close.
Northern Cal. He's from NorCal, not SoCal, but he's from the West Coast.
Okay, I guess that makes it okay.
And anyway, I just love that he doesn't code switch, because I code switch without wanting to. It just happens to me automatically. So if you ever listen to his interviews, he talks he's so it's just so refreshing. So anyway, I love whenever him and Michael B. Jordan do stuff. And Michael B. Jordan basically was like, "Oh, maybe Jonathan Majors could be my new friend," and then Jonathan Majors fucked up. He's like, "No, Ryan, I'm just kidding. We're BFFs again." And so now they have their movie coming out. Things are great. And then, like you said, I do not remember the actress's name, but the one from Lovecraft
Woomy.
Country. She's in there, and I'm sure she's going to do great. And speaking of Lovecraft Country,
Wumi
little known
Masaku.
fact.
What's her name?
Thank you. Little known fact, that is one of my first podcasts recapping it. So I used to have a podcast called Dovecraft Country with a D, if you guys want to go look up some old bullshit. All right, well, that's been 35 minutes. That we've reached our 40-minute mark on the show. We're going to come back.
No,
next
we're only
week to
25
talk
minutes. We did good
I'm just
today this time for once. We usually go
Yeah.
way longer. We did good. And I figured out how to do timestamps so y'all can skip this. So
Amazing. And you did a live new video view, so that's great.
a live new video, what?
Like you did this live of the trailer. Like that was
Oh.
real time.
Oh yeah. If y'all were watching live, the 6 people watching this live right now, you could have saw that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into why y'all are here. Industry episode, season 3, episode 7, the penultimate episode of Industry, Useful Idiot. Chanel, what did you think about this episode as a whole?
You said it was slow. It wasn't slow at all.
No, I didn't say it was
enjoyed
slow.
the
I said it was
setup.
dense.
Dense. Oh, that's
Yeah,
true.
it was dense.
Oh, you know what? Somebody's email said that like was this a little bit underwhelming for a penultimate episode. I liked it. I had my reactions throughout. I think I texted you saying like couldn't stand Yasmin, which I think most people will be on the same page as me. I'm not saying we're right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the reaction you're going to have to her. And then I was like, oh my God, Eric, it's heartless. And at the end, I said, wait a minute, he did that. And so those are my three emotional points throughout the episode.
I heard I saw someone on Twitter say that Yasmin, they love this show, but the only thing they don't like about the show is that Yasmin has not grown or changed at all in 3 seasons. And I said, yeah, I think that's true, but I think that's on purpose. Like, I think they're making her do that on purpose. It's not a lack of character development. It is the character. Like, that is the character of Yasmin, which I find to be very interesting, and which makes her such an interesting character to me. Because,
well, to be clear though,
good.
I mean, I don't think any of them have actually changed.
I think, well, yes, it's very much like Succession, right? But but Succession, the characters evolved without changing, if that makes sense, right? So
yeah,
like
exactly.
The characters evolved. They weren't just stagnant, but ultimately their cores of their people did not change. I think that what they were saying is like they keep doing the same things with Yasmin over and over again, and I'm like, yes,
No, fair.
because I think that's the character. I think they're doing that on purpose, and we know that because you see them not doing that with other characters. So I think they're doing that on purpose with Yaz because they're trying to say that's the character. And only a character like her could you, like, in the same episode, totally feel bad for her and then totally think she's terrible.
She gets on my fucking nerves.
It's the best. It's the best.
Yeah. No, I mean, the show is giving. I don't like, we've talked on this. If you go back, especially to our Succession coverage, I definitely am like a loud and proud womanist, and I strive to be that way. But that doesn't mean that like you don't react emotionally to the way that they write characters and like the reactions they're going to give you out of it. So like while there's a lot of things I could say, and I guess I'll go out of my way to say the things that I think justify or understand about Yasmin, I do think that they write characters to frustrate you on purpose, like you just said. And then you have this foil of Robert that you're just watching and you're just like actually praying doesn't get corrupted by her. Like that's like the one character you think throughout the whole time. Like, oh, the guy who shot at Trump just got charged. Good for him. Changing the subject. So yeah, like I think they just give you the reactions for a reason to make you like think through it, and they give you this tension between the characters.
Absolutely. All right, let's start. So the show kicks off at a Pierpoint 150th birthday party. And Adler calls Eric about the stock price, and it's dropping, and they're both concerned. He's like, "Meet me at the 13th floor. We need to talk about this shit."
Yep. So remember they at the end of the episode last week, the Pierpoint, the debt was coming due. It's all that stuff we've been thinking about. And so at the end, even though the price had rallied over Tom Woolsey's ascension to CEO, it started to drop because people started to be aware of like the news is getting around about the debt that we're about to come to maturity that they cannot pay, as well as the ESG like whispers and that going through. So that's just a quick reset. So yeah, they open up and like Pierpoint is like made over and everyone's all dressed up and you see him kind of push through. And they said, I don't know who's, it comes up now or later, but like he goes, they're serving Prosecco. And he was like, that's how you know we're going through financial troubles, because like there's not even Moet, like there's not real champagne. And I think it just speaks to how like in all these, you know, they'll lay off Kenny, right? They'll lay off people to save money, but like in the little ways that don't make as much of a difference as paying somebody $200,000 a year. I get it, but, like in the little ways that like this industry supports itself or subsists on itself because they work people to the bone, but then like they give them perks that push them through to the next perk. And that is like what's really like kind of insidious about like any client services job.
Yeah. Oh, yes, absolutely. So on his way to the 13th floor, he runs into Rishi, and Rishi's like, "Why the fuck didn't y'all cancel this party? Like this shit is nosediving. What the hell are y'all doing?"
The stock price, yep.
And this motherfucker is in a whole ass sling with coke residue on his nose.
Rishi.
Fuck no. I think Vinay was roughing his ass up.
Oh yeah, he fucked over for sure.
That's why he in the goddamn sling.
Saying your arm is in a sling because you walked into a door.
Oh no, we'll get to that. I have that clip because that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, that's funny.
And so Eric tells him to get rid of any product you got, book any profit, start trading Asia, and because you may not be able to trade in the morning. And
yeah. So
go ahead.
One thing that's happening here for sure is like, so remember last episode, Rishi came up to Eric, was like, "What the fuck's going on? I smell something's wrong." Like he didn't listen to Sweet Pea's analysis. He's just saying that like off of actually Rishi is one of the few. Rishi and Eric, and maybe the nigga he called Mo Salah
Ali
and Anuraj Ali are decent at their jobs / good, decent to good.
Sweet
and
Pea
so
too.
Rishi's like, oh, Sweet Pea, yeah, but we haven't actually seen her do anything with the analysis. But you're right. So I guess like what I'm saying is Rishi ignored her and still caught whip to things. So I mean, so is Harper, by the way. So anyway, Eric was like, "What are you talking about? You sound crazy!" Like gaslighting the fuck out of Rishi. And all of a sudden, Eric's like, "Yep." And Eric has this confused, slow look on his face the whole time. And now I know that is like Eric's conniving face, or his like oh shit face. Is like one and the same. But anyway, he tells him, like you just said, he says like dump everything. So what he's basically saying is things are so bad that even if at the end of the day you are like at the lowest point you could think of, that's still better than zero. And then something else that they point out throughout this episode that I had never thought of is that because they're in London and they're 6 hours ahead, they start trading around 2 p.m. for London time, because that's 8 a.m. New York time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he's saying trade Asia, he's saying, okay, like Asia's whatever, like 11 hours ahead of us, however the fuck many. So he's like, you need to be up to trade Asia because the market's open at the different parts of the world throughout the time. And so I always thought, I never even thought about how like when people in America are up to 1 a.m., sometimes it's like to work or collaborate or be prepared to work with Asia or work with India or work with the England or Europe. So I just like that we'll see like this day never ends, basically, that we're about to see.
So then they get to the Eric gets to the 13th floor and Adler meets him, and Adler's he's basically explaining to Eric exactly what Eric already knows because Sweet Pea told him. And so he's basically saying like, hey, we had a bunch of ESG stuff we invested in. We borrowed debt to cover our ass on it because it was losing. Now all that debt is coming to fruition and we can't pay for it, which is exactly what Sweet Pea said. So she was 100% right from what she talked about. And they're having this big meeting with like the new CEO and all the partners and execs, all the C-suite people, and they're trying to get the assistant secretary on the call. They get on the call with him, and basically Tom, the new CEO, is trying to get a buyout, get a government buyout, a bailout from the U.S. This is the U.S. government originally, and they're asking for a $15 billion bailout. And he goes, "We're not asking for that much, just a $15 billion bailout," which actually, I mean, in the scope of bailouts, it's not that much in terms of bank bailouts from what we see in the past.
Right. Like he says it's only 10% of the packet.
Yeah, he says this. He's like, we're not asking for TARP. And for people who don't know, TARP is the program that they did after the recession in 2008 when Obama came into office. And that was $700 billion, that program that saved a bunch of banks and different shits. And so
in case anyone doesn't truly understand, like the reason why the concept of too big to fail is because like there are some institutions that are like, if everybody got fired from it, like the economy wouldn't like we would go straight into a depression, or like straight into like a whatever, not depression, recession, right? Like that's what they mean by too big to fail, because it's like they're too big and there's too much money there. And so like when like it goes back to like the Silicon Valley Bank, like if it blows my mind that money could just have no value overnight. And that's kind of what they're saying. Like I guess what it comes down to is like money, trading, finance, all of that is like intuition. It's like it's so not real, and I think this show kind of helps highlight it. Yeah, okay.
No, you're right. And he tells Tom, you don't have the authority to do that. And Tom's like, well, bitch, put me on the phone with somebody who does. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna get the Treasury Secretary out of there 3 p.m. And wait till we see, like, he just lied his ass off, which was great.
Correct.
So then Adler is like trying to talk, and he's having some type of issue, and Eric asks, is he okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm good. So then they cut to Hanani Publishing, and this was kind of fucked up, I ain't gonna lie. They're meeting with this woman, Rose, who's like I don't know, she's like some type of person at Hanani Publishing up high, and she's like, we're decided that we're going to take care of all the damages of all the people affected by the embezzlement from your daddy. And Yaz and the lawyer are like, fuck, yeah, that's great. That's what I'm talking about. And they were like, but the PR team is trying to manage this, and they said the press wants a public face for the scandal. And Denise, Yasmin's lawyer, is like, yeah, they don't want no dead person, do they? And she's like, do you know what the fuck they're going to do to her? And Yasmin is late to understand, but she's basically saying they're going to blame you, Yaz. And they want to say that Yasmin knew about the embezzlement and that she was the main beneficiary. And Yasmin starts crying. She's like, I don't know shit, which she did not know shit. And the woman was like, the truth is not important. What's important is what expedites this for all of us. And
I mean, the thing is, and this comes up later, is that like, you know, the way that it's also another like Succession similarity, just because both of these shows speak about real life. But basically, like, Yasmin never did anything at the job, but she had a board seat because that gave her like a voting power that basically her dad could use, right? So like basically if she has a seat on the board and her dad wants something pushed through, he could just tell her to vote how he wants her to, and like he has control, and she doesn't give a fuck because that's just, you know, family money or whatever. But that is another way that like she has liability now, because like her name is on things. It's not like she's 17 and hasn't had a chance to be involved in this. Like from the outside looking in, it is plausible that she knows something about what's going on in the business.
And Yasmin, Denise, the lawyer, says, you're okay with publicly shaming an innocent person? And Rose is basically like, I don't know what you want me to say, buddy.
Yeah, she's like, the deal is the deal.
She's like, the alternative is we sue the Hanani family. We sue you personally, Jasmine. You ain't got the bread to fight. You broke. You ain't got no fucking job. You ain't got no fucking money.
And you still pay the money. And you pay the money too. Like you pay for the lawsuit and you end up paying the money. Or no, actually I think she said like, we'll pay it, but then we'll sue you back for it, and it'll be a whole thing.
And like you won't have the money to fight.
Yeah. And she tells I just realized that the translation though between like in this one, she's basically saying money's not free. So if we are paying this off for you, you pay a cost, and that comes up later too with Pierpoint.
And then she tells her, accept the fucking money, accept your family's culpability, get on with your life. And Yasmin's like, what life am I supposed to be? The paparazzi's going to take pictures of me. It's going to be so horrible. Which, I mean, it is kind of horrible, but the thing, we'll get to it later because I have a lot of thoughts about this. So then we go to the Pierpoint floor, and I have this scene because Anraj and Sweet Pea make me so happy when they're together in a scene. It just makes me so happy. So I actually have this scene.
Her boob job's insane. Reece, why did you pull us out of the party, man?
Yeah, man, I was chirps in this absolute milf from Risk.
Stop talking. Listen.
Wait, can you pause? Pause.
Is...
I'm sorry. Something I need to say. Anraj was saying all the slang that like I hear when I listen to British podcasts, and it was blowing me away. Like Anraj is cool because Anraj goes chirpsing. Chirpsing is like chatting to her, like which is also British. Chirpsing is like going smack or like trying to talk to her, like hit like for white people it's like hitting on. But I'm trying to think of like the newest for young white people it's Riz. So chirpsing is like stepping to a young lady. So he's saying I'm chirpsing a MILF, which is silly. But anyway, just listen for how Amraj talks all episode.
Okay, listen, the 150 party is a sham. Have you noticed that none of the top brass are there?
Oh, how could this day get any worse?
Insolvency.
The CEO and
Insolvency?
CFO were meant to be in London for it. Where are they? Guys, they're upstairs.
I told you. That's why it's so fucking squat in here. Look at the bins.
Fucking stinks.
So apparently, since they started losing money, they just was like, all right, we're going to have one cleaner come a day. And so the fucking place is a mess.
There's nobody signing checks. By the way, scrot is another slang term I hadn't heard before, but now I'm using it. Scrot is like nasty.
It's scrot in here.
I haven't seen a cleaner on the floor for 2 days.
Yeah, maybe admin payroll's goose. Those at the bottom get fucked first. But listen, I am working on an off-ramp for us. We're going to be a pod on the buy side.
Yeah, why would
I'm sorry,
you
but
take...
he said off-ramp, but he started laughing. I was like, that's so rude.
Yeah, because it's Rishi.
...us with you.
Well, I need a doe-eyed little flirt for the front of house. And Sweet Pea's actually smart.
Sweet Pea's actually smart. Which for Rishi is like the most confident, is the most compliment you could probably possibly get from him, is Sweet Pea's actually smart.
Look, we all deserve better than this. Covered in grease while the white gloves laugh at us upstairs. I can tell you as short as Mother Teresa is in hell, they're not thinking about us up there.
What should I?
Because here's the thing. If there is a heaven or a hell, Mother Teresa is in it. And because there's this, okay, so first of all, that should be our poll question. Please, Brandon, is Mother Teresa
I'll put that on the poll.
Okay, thank you. So there's this podcast I love called Swindled. And not that like this is a bigger podcast than us, so they need to be telling our name on their podcast. But anyway, so on Swindled, they did this episode about Mother Teresa, and apparently she was a scammer.
Oh, I'm so shocked.
Oh, okay, you're not. Okay, great. I don't know if you knew that, but if anyone doesn't know.
No, I didn't know that, but I'm not shocked at all.
If you're like, oh my God, how could you say that about Mother Teresa? Go look her ass up, baby, and go come back and tell me I'm wrong. Anyway, I just think it's so funny for him to like, of all the things, what I love about shows is like, of all the things he could have said, for him to say, if there's one thing I know for sure, is that Mother Teresa is in hell and Pierpoint is about to go in the shitter. That's the funniest shit he could have said in that moment. I loved it.
I am.
What happened to your arm, by the way?
Walked into a door, look.
That is so, I rewound that 3 times. He said it so quickly. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing to say. You could not be in how hard, and let's just take him at face value. How fast do you have to be walking to walk into a door and get put in a sling?
So, and also he said walked into a door. He didn't say I tried to break a door down.
No.
And it wouldn't budge. He said walked into. So, and when people say that, does that mean you walked into a wooden door that was closed? What do people say what do people mean when they say walked into a door?
It's like, I imagine someone not paying attention and there's a clear door, like a screen door, and they just walk into the door, walk into the screen
But
door,
that would be
the glass
blood.
door.
That would be scratch. It wouldn't be simply your arm and the rest of you is good. Also, it reminds me of Greg from season 1, who did really walk into a screen door and got fired that night from the other Christmas party.
Yes. Yeah, he did do that.
I am.
What happened to your arm, by the way?
Walked into a door. Look, get on the phones and move every position I have. Okay, senior secured, AAA, Triple B, Jules junked the lot. Eric's mandated it.
I like the lot. I like when the English people say the lot. I love
British
English slang. This show
It's
makes
really
me want to
good.
live in London. You understand?
It's really
I watch
good.
this show and I'm
It's really
like,
good.
I would love to like just take a year to go live in London. Like just 1 year and come back to my house.
Until all you eating is blood sausage and Indian food, and you're like, I'm going back to
No, I would
Dallas.
not be eating Jamaican food every fucking day and Caribbean food. Kidding me?
My problem is I didn't find it when I was there. So we need to. Hey, London, UK is like our 3rd most listened to country. Have us out there for a live show and show us where the best food is, and I'll eat my words.
I'm sure you would.
I'll work our lifeboat. Move.
Do you believe him? Would you work on the buy side?
Ultimately, your prognosis is we're dead anyway, right?
Yeah.
Look, even if this place is burning down, he's still our boss, right?
No. What is the point of making this whole desk's P&L look good if this goes under, right? It's like, it's deck chairs on the Titanic. It's, come on, we could like commemorate Pierpoint's last birthday by getting absolutely fucking hooned.
What's
She made
who,
now that one
Chanel?
she made up. She made that one up.
How do you know?
There's no way she fucking made hooned. Hooned, British slang. And if she didn't make it up, y'all should retire that one expeditiously.
Hooned. Or
It's
getting
getting crazy.
hooned on the Urban Dictionary means to get intoxicated, to consume more than a month's recommended alcohol in less than 5 hours. Often
Yeah,
thought
it's
to be
like-
referring to Jeff Hoon's British MP love for the occasional crafty pint or 10. So yeah,
That's
look at
fun-
that. It is a word. Hooned.
Okay, let's not use it.
You don't like hooned?
It didn't really hit. Like she had said, imagine like she said, let's get fucking slizzard. Or if she was like, let's get fucked up, or let's get white girl wasted. All those are better phrases.
Those are very American terms. She's
I know, but those
British.
are better than hooned. At some
I
point,
know.
you gotta switch over and be global, because that's not a good slang.
See, she's turning on y'all already. Already turned like 2 minutes after saying she loves you, turning on you.
Immediately. If I don't like it, you're out. You're chopped.
So then we cut to Harper, who's back in the hotel room where she loves to be. First of all, Harper makes way too much money to constantly be in a hotel room. This is a better hotel room than before, at least. But maybe it's
she
only
just
been a couple
likes it.
days. Maybe it's just she's waiting for the apartment to get ready. It's not ready for a week or whatever. But I'm sick of Harper not living somewhere of her stature. Okay, I'm sick of it.
So at that point, okay. So say the room is 5. Okay, yeah, no, she definitely can't afford it. I guess I would just assume at some point you're working something out for a monthly deal, because there are people who live in hotels, and I
Well,
think
yeah.
that I think that it speaks to her lack of her discomfort with being comfortable. Like she just has never, like she's never been like, oh, I want a home of my own. That's not Harper's thing. I don't know what Harper's thing is. I think it's world domination, but in general, it's like
Yeah.
Harper's never been like, I want to pick a fence and I want like something to call my own. She just doesn't want to go back to New York. That's kind of it. And she doesn't want to finish college. Those are the two things we know. But
Harper
yeah,
is
her
the
in the hotel
brain.
room. She is. It harks back to Perkins. I don't know which one it is. Back to I'm glad you mentioned it. When we first saw them coming into season 2 out of the pandemic, and she was like, she loves a 6-screen setup in a hotel. First of all, let's talk about how she didn't set that shit up herself. She had to hire somebody to come put all the monitors up the correct way in a hotel room. So she's definitely staying there for a couple weeks at least. So anyway, I when they switch to Harper and they see this guy in the back getting dressed, my heart for a second said, I know that's not who I think.
No, that's not DVD.
And it wasn't him. But you see how it looked like it for a second.
No, it didn't look like him. You're being racist.
But also
we all look alike, huh? All those black men look alike.
The focus was pulled to her. I couldn't see well in the back, but I thought it was like a slow reveal. I thought it was like, oh, DVD's here. They're doing a takedown. Anyway,
no, she just got some new dick.
But I did anticipate what he was doing there. That was not.
So she looks so full of herself, by the way. She's just like she just looks so fucking full of herself. Rishi calls her. Rishi's trying to get a job. And Harper's fucking around with her. And Rishi's like, all right, fuck it. Quid pro quo. You hooked me up with a job, and I know you got this fucking short on Pierpoint. So I'll give you up-to-date information on anything that I see while I'm here, because they're having a big-ass fucking meeting to make sure I can let you know to get out before shit starts to go up. And I'm like, Harper, please don't agree to inside trading on the telephone. Like, again. And Harper's like, okay, cool. And then Rishi's like, also, I want to bring along Anraj and Sweet Pea. And I was like, yes! Good job, Rishi. I was so proud of him. I was like, look at Rishi trying to bring his people along with him. And Harper says, Rishi, you always were a family man. And Rishi says, I don't need to remind you how loose I am with my seed. And then he gets off the phone. And then you see that the guy that Harper was fucking is the fucking room service person for the hotel. And he says,
that's what I'm saying. That brought me life.
He says, can I knock again tomorrow? And she goes, no, I'm good.
No, she doesn't say that. She says, no, thank you.
But she said it like she enjoyed it. It was
telling a man no thank you to dick. I don't care if I want it again. I'm gonna tell the next man, no, thank you. That'll just make him go home and be like, what? It was so polite.
It was very polite. It was very polite.
She was simply satisfied and done. Anyway, love her. She does shit like that, and I'm like, she's an icon. She's a fucking icon. How can you be mad at her? If this was a white man, people would be high-fiving her. You know what I mean? They'd be like, damn, look at how she dominates. That's why I fucking love her character.
I do love her character.
Person. Yeah, but she's good to watch.
No, her character is one of the best characters on television. I fucking love her character. Her character, my favorite characters this year last year was her, Kendall Roy, and what they call him? What the fuck did they call him on Shogun? The white man. Shogun white man. They called him something. I forget the word they called him, but the white man on Shogun.
You know, two things. Speaking of Kendall Roy, I almost bought an I am the eldest boy hat, and now I just thought about it. I'm gonna get that for you. That's gonna be your gift. Is the I am the eldest boy hat. Would you wear it?
I mean, I don't have no brothers and sisters, so yeah.
What do you mean? That's not the point.
What's the point?
You don't remember the Kendall Roy line?
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I see.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, but he does have brothers and sisters.
I know, that's what, he wasn't even the eldest boy. That's what was so, like, that's why it's such a good, I just saw that hat and I was like, I need that hat. And then secondly, can you believe there was a time before you had ever watched this show? There was a time in your life before industry? Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
He had just been out there. Like, I just think about that all the time. Like, there are people who still haven't watched Succession. Like, how is life fulfilling for you?
Good TV is something about prestige TV that is fantastic. And
it's life-changing.
I find myself sometimes getting really snobby with people because I'll hear people talk about good TV. They're like, oh, this show's so good. And I'm like, that show is not good. Like, it's not a good TV show. It's just a show that you watch and enjoy, which is fine. When I used to be a film critic and I used to do movie reviews, I would always say that there's a difference between a good movie and a movie you enjoy, right? And so, like, a good movie is like things that can be like, movie critic is subjective, but they are objective things about television and film that make it good. There are objective things about that. However, they can also be TV shows and movies that you really fucking love that aren't good, but you still love them, and that's okay too. And so, but I think it's okay to not say that. So I find myself sometimes getting really snobby with people who like watch certain shows, and I'm not even talking about like reality shows.
You
or
get
anything
snobby
like that.
with me. I see it. I'm just joking.
No, I don't get snobby with you. I just don't get it. But I watch pro wrestling, right? But I would never pretend that pro wrestling is like prestige television. I watch pro wrestling because it's fucking entertaining and it's wrestling. So like, I get it. But other people will tell me shit that's not good is good. I have people to this day, I hate to get off on this tangent, but I have to say it. To this day, swear to me that the white dude who played Tommy on Power is this great actor. And he's like the worst actor I've ever seen. Like the worst. The worst. He's horrible. And people swear to me that he's like this great actor. You don't know. You don't get Tommy. And I was like, you stopped watching the show after season 2 or whatever. I was like, yes, because it was terrible and I couldn't keep watching it. But he was the worst of everyone on that show. Amari Hardwick is a great actor. He's fantastic. Mm-hmm. He's on a lot of things and he's fucking great. The dude who played Tommy is not good. It's not good.
The worst actor you've ever seen is Lauren London.
Oh, she's awful. That's an
unpopular opinion. It's bad to say that out loud.
No, she's terrible.
We just found the worst two. Okay, got it. They should be the Razzie couple. Okay, wait. I agree with you. I think like I don't get snobby about TV as much as I'm like, I don't understand how people cannot need to watch TV. Like I just don't get. It's like how can you not read books? It's not different than that. It's like how can you not want to travel the world? It's like it's that whole thing of like, in a weird way, expanding your horizons. And I just don't think TV rots your brain anymore. Like, I think what rots your brain is not scripted TV. It's like very pointed and like inaccurate news. You know what I'm saying? But there's so many things you can watch right now that like will just show you parts of the world that you don't know or show you different lifestyles. So like when people, non-people of color, like don't know about other cultures, I'm like, bro, you're going out of your fucking way not to find it, because there's a channel for every affinity right now that you can go watch a show, get to know our culture. The fact that I know about Asian people and I know about where Anthony Bourdain used to go to lunch, and I know about British, I know about Miss Marple and them. Like I know about all that through TV. It's so accessible. And before we get back to just talking about the show, 2 quick admin things. Thank you guys again for the people watching on YouTube. We literally got a subscriber while we were streaming just now, so thank you, appreciate you. And 2 is while you were talking, I was looking at Spotify, and we have a 4.3 right now on Spotify. And so Apple Podcast Army, I'm gonna need you to do some corporate espionage. Go watch on Spotify and give us those 5 stars, because that for some reason pisses me off. So anyway, I just wanted to throw those things in.
Also, the last thing I had to say is there used to be a time where we didn't have a lot of black television shows. It's kind of like in sports, where like when I was growing up, there weren't that many black quarterbacks. So you always had to defend the black quarterbacks, even the sorry ones. And you knew they were sorry, but you were like, yo, they still a black quarterback. I got to defend this black quarterback, even though he's sorry. And now half the league is black quarterbacks. So I no longer have to defend sorry black quarterbacks. So if you're a black quarterback and you sorry, I can call you sorry. It's the same thing with TV, right? It's not where it should be. It's not where it needs to be. And it's getting better and we still want more. But there's quite a few black TV, like there's lots of black television throughout all the streaming channels and on TV now. You don't have to say a bad black TV show is good anymore. Fight Night is out there. I haven't watched it yet, but everybody that I know have watched it tells me it's fucking great and I need to watch it, which I'm going to start watching it.
There's a couple things on my list. And the last thing I want to say is that you mentioned that wrestling is something that's not good, but it is entertaining. I need men to admit that about football.
What?
that it's not entertaining. I
Well,
think that I
football's
need
very
them to
entertaining.
admit. I need them
That's
to
the only
admit
reason people
that.
watch that silliness.
No, I need them to admit that football can be entertaining. Football can be exciting during exciting plays, but generally speaking, football is start, stop, men in suits, like beer commercial, start, stop. Like it's first down, and then there's a crazy touchdown run, and you're glad you're watching it.
It's
But like,
not
I just,
the flow of basketball.
yeah, it's not as compelling as men act like. Like for the number of people who say Sundays are for football, meaning I'm not going to church. I don't need to
Yes.
praise God. I need to just watch football all
Yes.
day to act like football is riveting. And then you're telling me that Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is not worth watching
Well, you
2 hours
also
worth?
you also don't watch. A lot of people just watch Red Zone, right? And all Red Zone does is just switch from the most like one game to another when something good is happening, and you never see the boring parts.
I'm talking about the man who sit up in front of that on that damn leather chair and watch TV all day. It's
That's
like
right.
the other day, oh my God, I went to this nail shop and there was this man manager there, and like it was all women and this man manager, and the Steelers are playing that day. This motherfucker had the pregame show on at 11 o'clock at the nail shop. I said, bro, Mike Tomlin is in bed still. Turn this shit off, put a movie on, and when the game starts, no, he had us hostage. We were all getting our nails done watching.
That's how it should be.
Let's move on.
So then we go to Harper's. Oh, we left Harper's episode. Then we go to the flat, and Yasmin asks Rob if Harper moved out. She's like, yeah, without saying a word.
I mean, you slapped her.
And they slap each other. But yes.
You backhand me. I'm out of there. I'm not. You don't want me to say no more words to you at this point, because.
I mean, Yasmin could have left. Harper ain't had to leave.
Yasmin's not going to. Yasmin's manifest destiny. She believes she deserves to be everywhere she's at. She's not leaving. Rob
has a job interview tomorrow in Wales. He's very excited about it with a medical research center. Rob asks Yasmin, he looks around and sees like pizza boxes and she's in a fucking dirty ass sweatshirt. And he's like, when the last time you leave the fucking house? And Yasmin's like, it's 5 paps outside, paparazzi. And Rob says, I don't know what you talking about, buddy. I don't see shit outside.
They're not looking for you. They're hopping, because and to her credit, the beginning of the season, them niggas were falling out of trash cans and hopping out of bushes and ghillie suits. Like, okay, we're tracking you. But right now, it's like you can hear a trash can fall over and a cat meow. Like you cannot. They're not out there.
And she's like, trust me, they ain't, look, you can come look. They ain't out here. And I'm like, oh, I feel so bad for Yasmin. She's so down, and she just got the roles were so fucked up to her, and they're gonna ruin her whole rep. She don't really have, like, she's trying to figure out what the fuck to do. Like, I felt bad for her. And Rob says, because he's such a great friend. Rob is the only good person on this fucking show, like, at this point. And Rob is like, why don't you come with me? Because he sees that she's down. He says, I got a zip car.
No, oh my gosh, you gotta get this thing. He says, I hired a zip car. Okay, that's not the accent. Hold on.
I got a zip car.
Hired. He says hired.
He didn't say hired.
Is the craziest way. He said, which is the craziest way to say you rented a zip car. British people are so funny.
And Yas says, I don't see a way out of this. And I said Rob's a really good friend, almost too good for her. Yas gets a call from Maxim, which is her ex. Well, the dude that she was fucking, the dude that was managing her daddy's money, and then she started fucking him, that's Maxim. And Rob tells him to hang up. And then Rob says, let's mistake the open road for freedom like all cultures teach us to. And Yas is like, okay, she does that little smile that she does. Then we cut back to the Pierpoint meeting. Tom is there, the new CEO. He goes, who the fuck are you? To Eric.
That's crazy. To the there was a black woman in the room, but to the only Asian, it's crazy. And he, you know what? He doesn't say who the fuck are you. He says, who is this?
Adler says that's Eric, gives his whole background, says the Pierpoint institution, he's the memory. He's basically just hyped him up, right? Basically hyped him up. And Tom asks, how important is history today? Because he said Eric is like
Yeah.
an encyclopedia of like Pierpoint history or whatever the fuck. Eric starts
'cause
giving
Eric
this.
keeps like
Go
Eric's just
ahead.
trying to validate, like, just for the again another context and like what really sunk in when I was like watching is this is a room full of like this is a tiger team to sell Pierpoint. Like they're like, okay, we're at a terminal position in this company. We're either gonna sell it, sell parts of it, and like refuse to lose all of our money. Like we're gonna get bailed out. Like they're trying to figure out these options. And so it makes people feel bad about making like really effective decisions. And obviously going into it, I'm like, I'm pro Pierpoint, whatever. Like, I don't want to see them just fall on their face. But then another part of me was like, wait, honestly, like, yeah, these people are newcomers, but they're like, bro, if the 150 years in, y'all don't have the money you need, or like you making these bad decisions, maybe it should end. And so I think that's what's interesting if you take the emotions out of it and realize these turnaround conversations are what really happen in boardrooms. And it really is 20 people around a table eating pizza, drinking Red Bulls, trying to push through. And so anyway, that just like kind of blew my mind. The how real that is. And he's basically saying, yeah, Eric and what's his name together are, yeah, they're 50 years plus at the firm, but like who gives a fuck if we're just trying to sell the firm and we don't want somebody like using nostalgia to try to like tear down this deal, which is basically what this turns into.
Yeah, Eric tries to get some speech about history. And every time Eric starts talking, I'd be like, he sounds so articulate, but he just be saying bullshit. Like to me, it's just like all his speeches are bullshit. Wilhelmina gives Eric the hard side eye.
I liked it. I liked what he said. He says history is value and value is legacy, and I'm here to help preserve the legacy.
Yeah, he says we're too. He says too big to fail is not an insult. It means that we're important and blah blah blah. Wilhelmina gives him the side eye. Tom says, "I want practical thinkers, not zealots." Then the Madam Secretary calls. Then the Madam Secretary calls, which I actually have this scene because this was fucking fantastic. Because you remember earlier, the assistant secretary's like, I have to get her out of her 3 p.m. meeting, like her 3 p.m. meeting. We see her. She's in her house.
She won't like it.
On her fucking iPad.
I think she's in her office, but he's like, she won't like it. She's doing some busy stuff, but yeah, she's literally on the Peloton.
Please hold for the U.S. Treasury Secretary.
Oh yeah, that might be her house.
Madam Secretary.
Graham filled me in on the situation.
Why did they get someone who sounds so fucking funny? Like they got one of those like comedy actresses for this role.
Perlman in this bitch. I loved it.
It's so funny. This is so funny.
I don't want to waste your time. The Treasury can't offer you a solution. Not today. Not tomorrow. Jesus.
You of all people understand the risk if Pierpoint collapses. We've dropped another 10% the last hour of U.S. trading. Surely the lesson from 08 is that administration should act early to stop contagion.
Tell me exactly where you were in 08, Tom. If I remember correctly, I was the vice chair of the Federal Reserve, and you were, what? Singing a cappella with the Whiffenpuffs at Yale?
I actually do a very stirring rendition of Radio Gaga to this day.
The lesson from 08 is no more bailouts.
We're not asking for TARP-scale relief here. 08 happened. Moral hazard isn't a thing. Nobody will care. We were asking for less than 1/10 of the packet.
You are out of your mind if you think we're putting our hands into the coffers for a financial institution in an election year.
Pull on her heartstrings is worth a shot.
She's a Democrat. She only pretends to have a heart. But think about what you're doing. The only person you're hurting is the man on the street. The people on the pavement foot the check. The people you're supposed to protect.
And in the immediacy, the person who is footing the check eventually does not want to know they are footing it right now. It's an election year.
So you'll gladly let us fail?
Oh, you're all salaried capitalists, right? Order some Chinese takeout and find a solution.
I think the president might have something.
The president still thinks we're at war with Japan. Bye and good luck.
Dog. I mean, I first of all, I agree with you. I loved this voice and this choice of an actress. War with Japan is wild because that really does mean that like she's basically saying like that nigga's a non-option. Like, yeah, whatever president, if you say so, but like I run this shit. It's just really like I just love this show.
Tom says so
They
much
give
for
us
too
so
big to
much.
fail. Some white dude's like, we should fuck with the Saudis. He didn't say that. He said, what about sovereign
He
wealth
said the
funds,
Gulf. He said
which is the
the
Saudis.
Gulf.
And I'm like, yo, y'all about to go to the Saudis? Y'all are wild. And Adler says, I think I speak for 45,000 employees, and that, you know, we basically need, and he gets stuck in his point, and Eric has to help him. And Tom notices, and he's like, I don't need your help, basically. And Tom notices that he got fucked up.
Yeah.
Wilhelmina and Adler. Oh, go ahead.
What they're doing with the banks right now is like, and they mentioned something that did happen within the last few years that is very relevant. And I actually know somebody who was at Credit Suisse before it folded. And so, like, when Credit Suisse was a good bank that made it through, or big, I don't know how good they were. They made it through after 2008, and then they got bought out by their biggest competitor because they were failing. And so it's like literally the same thing. And so Pierpoint is like, you know, like culturally, we don't want to. Again, I think I've already gone into this, but it's just very interesting to me because it's literally what the kind of shit I'm in school for, is thinking about like Pierpoint feels like for 150 years they've had this culture and these people, and what happens when you get bought by a competitor is that they gut teams, they change culture, people are uncomfortable, people are unhappy, and they just feel like they put all this time and this career into a company for nothing. And so they're sitting there going back and forth weighing options, and so they brought up Lehman, which happened in real life, and that was over the banking crisis. Then they brought up Credit Suisse, which I don't know all the details there. And I think another thing they're talking about is like, this is an American bank. We want to keep it on that side. And so it's like some entities seem more like, I think getting subsumed into a British bank feels worse because it feels like they definitely would try to take over the culture. But like getting bought by Asia would mean like more of a like bicultural thing where they leave the American arm because that's a benefit for them to be there, and then they like keep in Asia. But I feel like maybe a British bank will try to close New York operation. You know, you just don't know. So that's like those are all the options that they're weighing. But yeah, he talks about the Gulf, and it took me the second watch to remember this is the nigga who said, what are your pronouns? He, she, they, founder, alphabet soup in the very beginning episode. This is that guy.
Adler, yes.
No, not Adler. The guy who said the crazy stuff, the old guy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was him. Yeah.
He was in there talking that shit. That's him this whole time.
So Eric said they break, they go outside. Adler's like, I don't need you to finish my fucking sentences. Eric was like, my bad, I was just trying to help. He's like, I don't need that right now. And he's basically like, Eric says, I thought we cared about the soul of the firm, not jockeying for position. So he's starting to pick up on like some cues with Adler a little bit. Adler says Wilhelmina wanted to be proven right. She pushed for all the ESG shit, so we should hang her out to dry, basically. It's all going to end in a purge, he tells Eric, and he says, but when I become CFO, how does global head of institution security sound? And Eric asks him, what are they talking about out there? Adler says, whatever outcome suits them. He says, let's just make sure we lay everything at Wilhelmina's feet. That's our strategy. He also tells him he's been working with Mitsubishi for a capital injection for weeks. He didn't tell Eric about it. And Eric looks at him like, this is not a good idea, dog. Kind of already. He's like, I don't think that's a good idea. You're on mute.
So he's also on the rewatch, I see something more behind his thinking, because he's like, oh, you want me in your slipstream. And what you're hearing is that like Adler's saying, so first of all, Adler's not even trying to be the CEO. He's trying to be CFO, which is not like nothing to scoff at, but it's still like not CEO. And then he's like, oh, you can get whatever you want, which is not the same thing as being like, this has already been working, this is happening, whatever. So Eric is like, okay, I can either like follow right behind you in everything you're going to do, knowing that you have a terminal illness, and that could work out for me. But he's starting to think like, I don't know. And so like the Mitsubishi thing is the idea, like you said, capital injection. It's like if they give them enough money to like stop the stock price, they'll be okay. But that does not solve the problem of like, where does Tom go after this? What do people do? But his strategy, and I think it might come up again later, is like he's like the woman, the lady with the bob, Miss Bob. She's like she was the one who was like ESG, ESG, ESG. He's like she's got to go. She's the one who got us in the situation because if she wasn't all ESG bleeding heart, we would have kept our investments other places, which is probably very valid. Like it's probably very accurate, and so that's the plan. Like throw her under the bus for what she did. Well, not even throw her under the bus. Highlight her role in what happened. Let her take the blame that she deserves, and then ascend after everything is better and fix the company. That's kind of Adler's plan.
So, so then Adler says, yeah. So Eric asks him, "How do you have the energy for all this?" So then they cut to Yaz and Rob on their way to Wales.
He says, "What else is there?" Which is sad because that's like
it's so sad. He's had to have made millions in his position.
But he knows that life is short, and he's still like, "This. I just want to get as much money out of this situation, as much money and like power and feeling of control out of this as possible." But I have to imagine that like if you are in this room, you know how powerful you are, and that like feels very that feels like being alive, probably.
I mean, it has to be. And so then they cut to Yaz and Rob on their way to Yale's, and Rob is basically doing the thing where he's like super excited about his job, so he's telling his friend about it, and she cares a little bit, but it's like a lot. And Rob's just kind of going on, and this place does pharmaceutical mushrooms, we find out. And I was like, that ayahuasca must have had Rob on cloud 9, that he wants to go into this right after that. He
said, we have to find a way to monetize this.
Henry said that, yeah.
I know, but he said, okay, I heard you.
I said, Rob sounds like every weed head you've ever met. It's like trying to get you to understand like how great this new strand of weed is.
However, I will say that psilocybin and ketamine are revolutionary new drug options for treatments. Like there are therapists that are using mushrooms and ketamine to treat people.
And so,
crazy.
Yes. And then he says, damn, we are an hour and 16 minutes in. We got a long way to go. Maxim calls again. And, oh, no, before that, Yaz asks, like, y'all are really about to do this for hallucinogens? And Rob's like, you're missing a point. This is a chance for me to do something for myself for once, to get out of this fucking loop of bullshit that I've been in and do something on my own. And I was like, look at Rob.
Yeah, actually get a job. Yep.
So Maxim calls again, and Rob's like, all right, go ahead and take that call. I gotta take a piss. This is where we find, so Maxim is at a $5,000 a week retreat in the middle of nowhere, and he apologizes for falling out of her life. He says he saw the photos of Charlie, he couldn't sleep. But the important thing is he tells Yaz that the company, Hanadi Publishing, was complicit in all the fuck shit that Charles was doing. And he says, I got some anti-woke pals at Hanadi that hate the hypocrisy of the company. And that a lot of the women that work there only started working there after they signed NDAs. And you can tell who they are because he has a payroll sheet, and the ones that have a check mark next to them are the people who have NDAs. And she says, Maxim says to Yaz, they're trying to feed you to the press now because they know that all this shit is going to come out at some point. And that not only can they blame you for this, but then because you're on the board, they can say that you knew all of this stuff about hiding NDAs and blame you for that too.
Exactly. So going back to what I was saying before, it's not just Yasmin thought, oh, they'll just say, oh, it was her dad. She probably must know. But what he's saying is like, no, they thought this through. Like, if more shit comes out, it's even worse for you. Like, it'll never come back on them.
And so then he said, Yaz was like, oh, can you send me that? And he's like, yeah, it's probably illegal, but fuck it, I'm gonna send it to you. And he says, you know, your father never really saw people as people. And Yaz is like, no fucking shit, hangs up the fucking phone. Which is funny because it's kind of the same way, like a little bit, like kind of a little bit, in a different way, but in the same type of thing. And so Rob asks Yaz. Yaz is clearly pissed off from that call, right? So Rob picks up on that and was like, "Are you hungry?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm fucking hungry." They go to this hotel, and the front desk person is clearly flirting with Rob, like clearly flirting with Rob. And Yasmin comes in, and she's got like this possessive thing with Rob, where she like feels like, I don't know, but she's like, "I got y'all 2 rooms," and Rob's being super nice talking to her, whatever. She tells Yaz the kettle doesn't work in her room. Is that another term? Kettle?
Like,
or is they talking about tea?
Literally tea kettle, yeah.
Okay. That's so fucking British. Tea kettles in hotel rooms. Not coffee, tea. A tea kettle in the hotel room. And
Fair. It might even be like a fucking Keurig. Like I don't know what they mean. That could be like the catch all for all the things. I'm not sure.
And she asks the hotel the front desk lady asks Yaz, "Do y'all work together?" Because she's trying to make her move with Rob. And Yaz is so fucking terrible and lies and says,
He's an asshole.
"No, we're a couple." Like, why would
We're
you
very religious.
Well, she goes, "But I thought y'all had separate rooms." And she's like, "We're very religious." And I was like, "Yes, why would you do that? Like, why?"
She's just like it. And I think what's interesting is she knows like from her context with Robert that Robert's not really on that shit right now. Like he's not like looking for random women to have sex with right now. But she notices that the girl doesn't give her like, I don't know, it's almost like she doesn't give her enough respect at first. And so she wants to hurt her feelings. And it's like, yeah, like this is what, going back to what we talk about with people saying she doesn't grow and change. It's like Yasmin has all this other shit on her mind, but like it makes her feel better to make a woman who like is not as conventionally hot as her to like put that woman down. It's like very sad.
And yeah, it's fucked up. And so Yaz then calls a lawyer and sends her the email that Maxim sent her. And she's like, "Why the fuck are you sending me this?" And she's like, "This proves that they're full of shit, that they got all these victims and shit." And Denise is like, "Have you considered what this would do to the victims if we made this public? Like we came out with this?" And Yaz is like,
no.
I never thought about it at this point.
Not at all. Didn't cross my mind.
Didn't even cross her mind. In the publicity battle, Denise was like, "We can win. It'll be tough, but when they go low, we go high." So then they cut back to Pierpoint. Adler tries to tell Tom about Mitsubishi. He ain't want to hear that shit. Wilhelmina's like, "Oh, we got Barclays in here." So Michael from Barclays comes in. Adler says Adler starts to wow out right here. He's like, "We can't become a subsidiary of a big bank," and he's about to cuss at her. He's like, "Let me tell you about you, Wilhelmina." And like, I was like, God damn, this nigga, he is wilding. So then they cut to Rishi, and he sees the head of Barclays coming in. And I love this. He calls Harper, but he calls her H. He says, "You might want to get out of your short. The Barclays CEO's here. We know they might be talking about some type of merger of some sort." Harper starts freaking out. He's like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah." And then Harper says, I can't hire 3 people." It's almost like she wanted to see what he would say with her face. And then Richie was like, "Come on, babe. It was always me." And it's like, God damn, man. He can't help himself. He cannot help himself. And so they go back upstairs. Adler's like, "How would the floor take a sale to Barclays?" I was like, "You don't give a fuck about the floor. Like, you don't care about the floor." A Brit takeover would decimate it all. Eric is starting to notice something with Adler and his crazy outbursts. Because he's, at this point, he's just like yelling and cussing at people. I'm like, "Yo, you are wilding right now." Michael comes in from Barclays. Then they cut to Rob and Yaz on the boardwalk. Rob bought Yaz a battered sausage. I said, that must be the Brit English version of a Vienna sausage or Spam. The way Yaz was looking at that shit.
Yeah, or maybe just like a hot, what do they call
a corn dog?
No, what do they call a hot dog in New York with all the fixings? Like, that's what I said. Let's see, battered.
A chopped cheese sandwich?
Battered sausage, not porn. Let's see. It is it is like a corn dog. It doesn't look right. It
And then
looks different. Yeah. Oh, it's literally pigs in a blanket. Yeah.
And then we get this really good scene here.
You know, you could probably invite that impressionable young girl up to your room and fuck her silly. Because there's not going to be any room hopping tonight here. Just FYI, you know, as fun as that might be.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
You don't have to. But not everything with us has to be a fucking game. Whatever vulnerability that you're feeling right now, sit in it. All right? We are beyond the game.
Sorry.
Yaz can't help herself. She just cannot help herself with that type of shit. And I love Rob being like, dog,
Yeah,
like, what
I'm
are you
proud of
doing?
him.
Like, what are you doing?
He gave her like the best advice in the world. Sit in that vulnerability because it's true. Like whatever's going on with her, she doesn't want to deal with it. So she's going to deflect. And like, if he was not in a good place, that might have gotten in her head or like say he was still where he used to be. He might have felt like, no. Like, I don't want you to think I like this girl, but he's like, what the fuck? Like, that's not what we're going to do or how we're going to deal with this. I was really proud of him. I think, but again, I already said at the beginning of the episode, I felt like he was doing his thing this so far this season.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I act like that. I don't know. I'm good at making people feel like I love them. But, I don't know that I ever have. Maybe?
Yeah. Girlfriend at school, Izzy Boone. I was fucking obsessed.
It's just my first instinct whenever I feel anything like love or care. I just want to make it ugly as quickly as I possibly can. You know, turn it into something else. Turn it into sex. You know, anything else.
Right. I don't know what to say. All I know is that for the first time in a long time, I've got this feeling in my stomach. I couldn't work out what it was. But I know now that it's anticipation, it's excitement for the future.
And then they kiss. And so this is how you know this is a good show. They do the slow walk back to the room. A lesser show, they would have looked at each other. They would have done the thing where Yasmin opens her door and keeps it open, and then Rob goes in and then they fuck. That's what would have been happening on a much lesser show. On this show, Yasmin starts doing that look over to Rob. Rob looks back at her, smiles, and then proceeds to walk in the door and close that bitch. I cheered I was laughing so hard when I watched that. That was so great. Yaz looked disgusted.
It's literally a difference between like, are you healed or are you not? Because that's literally what it comes down to. Like, we're either gonna deal with like Rob falling in. I mean, Rob told Henry the other day, yeah, she had me looking my cum off of a mirror, right? Like he's been there. He knows that it's not good. Like he doesn't want anything bad to happen to her, but he's genuinely just like, I don't have this in me anymore.
And then we get Harper and Petra, which I have a lot to say, but I want to keep it moving. So I'm going to play the scene.
Our short is about to turn.
How do you know?
Listen, I think we are diametrically opposed when it comes to the relationship between information and how it's traded upon, right? I think everything and everyone is moving in a big sludge of gray.
Don't
Harper, just tell her what you fucking did.
over-intellectualize this shit. What have you done?
I have it on good authority. Michael Stone has just gone into Pierpoint. It's an acquisition target. We need to take profit before they buy it, and Pierpoint stock rallies.
No, I don't think we should do that.
Why?
Think about the risk reward. I mean, what percentage chance do you ascribe to him being there to buy it?
This is what you got to remember. Harper knows for sure what happened. Petra knows that they have some issues, but she don't know how fucking bad they are. Harper knows how down bad they are, but never told her because, I mean, she acquired it illegally.
But you know what's really interesting is like, I guess she didn't acquire it illegally because she didn't go out of her way to acquire it. It's more like she's not allowed to act on it, and she's just using that. And then I'll say what I have to say after she says her part because I agree with something she says.
Like 100%? It's too big a coincidence.
They're throwing a party for financial luminaries, no? And look, I mean, even if it's true, so the stock gets a bump on the headline. I mean, what about the due diligence, the regulator, the government? Balance that against what we stand to gain if we hold the line, if Pierpoint trades to zero. Where's your stomach?
I just don't know what it looks like to the regulator if we're always on the right side of this trade at precisely the right time.
What aren't you telling me?
Again, moving forward with honesty. I know Pierpoint are terminally ill.
How?
I overheard it. In the toilet.
In Pierpoint? Holy fucking cunting Christ. Okay, that is a completely different beast. I mean, trading on anything that you hear in there is privileged information. They know we were in there. There's cameras, there's records.
Okay, but like, how is an SEC FCA investigation gonna put anything together based on that? It would be speculative at best. What, we took a meeting and placed a short? Lock us up, throw away the key, come on.
Okay.
The whole thing is fucking information soup. That is the point.
You've backed us into a major fucking corner.
Okay, well, I've said my piece.
Yeah.
I just can't root. Every time you want to root for her. Every fucking time.
Okay, so what was she supposed to do? Because like when else would they sell?
What she was supposed to do was never get into this to begin with. She should have never got into this play.
I forgot. You're right. She went and told Petra, and she could have just kept mind her business.
She only got into this play because she overheard that shit, and then she manipulated Petra to try to make her like she figured it out legally, when the entire time it was not figured out legally, and only to be backed in the corner and then tell Petra that you are a managing partner involved in some highly illegal shit. You just can't root for her. You can't root for her.
Thank you for breaking that down, because I was like, is she really that bad? But
yes,
you're right.
It's bad.
Okay, you're right.
And then,
thank you.
And then they cut to the Pierpoint meeting. Michael from Barclays is there. He basically tells them that, yeah, we're interested in buying. We want to buy your infrastructure. Adler's like, what the fuck does that mean? He ain't give us no fucking details. And Tom's and Adler's Tom says, Tom is basically like, why are you talking but not talking to me? Like, say my name. And then Tom says, Adler says to him, go fuck yourself. And Tom says, I do that on the regular. Thank you.
He was just doing too much. He was just being British.
And everybody's looking at Adler like he's fucking losing it. And Adler says to Tom, what you're doing? Well, he's like, what are you even doing here? He's like, you're barely 40 years old. You're a British management consultant. Like, who made you CEO? Like, why are you here? Adler's like, we need income.
Yeah, by the way, he was crashing out. He was definitely crashing out. I don't know if it was a tumor or the day was getting to him. It was probably a little bit of both, but he was like, he started this shit all like, this is a royal council. We need to act the part. And then he got into like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Yes.
You did this shit. Like, he was really going off.
He said, Mitsubishi once says we need income. They have no steps. Wilhelmina is like, where do you ever get money for free? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, where does that happen at? Michael comes back and says, all right, we good. As long as the regulator says we're good, let's do a handshake agreement. Everybody goes in, shakes their hands, celebrating. Adler says to Eric, this is what death looks like. And I was like, that's such a poetic line because you literally have a tumor. That's what death looks like. Not this, not you getting even the worst case scenario, you get a golden parachute and you go be with your family and get your treatment done for the rest of your life. Right? This is not death. And 150 years to Bill, and Eric says a 2-minute phone call to bring it all down. After this, Wilhelmina goes up to Eric and tells him, like, Bill can't be acting like that when they come back in here, dog. Like, this is a problem. Eric says he has our best interest in mind. And she says, what, did he promise you the world if we come out on top? And Eric was like, yeah, he has been saying some shit like that recently, though. And Wilhelmina's like, why is he turning this into a zero-sum game? If we play this right, everybody in this room comes out safe. And Eric says, do I count as in the room? And that's what Wilhelmina was like, oh, I got to play here. And then she was like, listen, get in his ear. That's how you become in this room. Get in his ear, tell him to calm the fuck down. He says, Bill is self-interested. He don't give a fuck about the workforce. He wanted to fire people the other week. He just told you to fire people the other week.
And that's when she started to eat a little bit. She started to nibble because she's like, okay, first of all, think about it like this. Is that nigga really going to ride for you the way he says he is, or is he just trying to like make out of this alive? And then he does start saying some stuff about his stock price and how like he's like, my shit is vested and if the British bank will fuck it up. And then the last thing she said that really did hit home, and she's right, like his dick does get hard to lay people off. He just told him to lay somebody off for the fuck of it to show that he's tough, right? Like, so Adler does not give a fuck. So that's kind of what it's like.
Well, even worse, he says, as far as Bill's concerned, Eric, you're a useful idiot. And that's what sent them over the edge. Because we know
if he was not. Yeah.
No, go ahead. We were talking over each other.
If he was not sure what Adler's intentions were, this just was enough to kind of like completely make him paranoid.
Yeah, and Eric's already been on this, like, do I fuck like a young person? Like this, I need self-worth in my life type of a thing. And so for her to say, dog, you're just as useful idiot, that sent him over the fucking edge. So then we cut to Yaz's hotel room. She's looking at the docks in the bathtub. She gets upset about it. Then she starts popping these fucking mushrooms. She took like 4 of these motherfuckers. I was like, you are on one right now. They go back to Petra's house. Petra got a black husband. She calls Otto. By the way, Petra has a husband. She got a kid. She takes time off to take her kid to rehab. Like, she's kind of got like this balance, right? Like she's kind of got
something like
something.
She has
She has something that everybody else on the show does not have, which is like perspective.
Yeah, she has perspective. She has edge. Like she's a good trader, but she also, like you just said, she has a life outside of work, and that is what's really interesting. Like even Anna, and she worked with Anna, but Anna seemed like her job, her life was very much validated by other people.
Yes.
And so like if her employees didn't think that she was a cool mom, then she didn't really feel like a mom.
Petra's like, I got a job. I want to be the best at my job. I can be ruthless within the lines at my job, but my job is not my life. I don't need you to be my friend. I'm not trying to look for life partners. I want a good coworker and partner at work, and then I'm gonna go live my life. She calls Otto and she's like, look, this is becoming unattainable with Harper. And she's like, why? And he's like, you're one of my best performing projects. Petra says she's being reckless. And Otto's like, how? She's like, legally. And Otto basically says, if you fucking, what did Smokey say? Oh, fuck, man, I had the line and I accidentally erased it. But he was like, you fucking with my money. God damn it.
It's the principalities? Is that what you say?
He fucked up my big worm line. I'm mad now. Oh, it's gonna piss me off the rest of this episode.
Is it that line? It's not the principalities line?
It was something about like you fucking. Somebody will write in and tell us. It's a lot of black people listening. Someone tell me the line about fucking with my money that Big Worm said. Anyway, Otto says I can't have that shit. Michael comes. Right now,
it's the principality.
I think that Otto made a call. I'm assuming a lot, but I'm assuming Petra told Otto what happened. And Otto made a call because the next scene that we see is Michael from Barclays coming back in. Is like, dog, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. You don't know that sound. You don't know where that's from. But if anybody who watches wrestling knows where that's from. And then he's like, look, I couldn't get us over the line with the regulator. It's going to take some more time. And he just got off the phone with the chancellor's not looking good. He can't afford to ratify another bailout for a bank. And
wait, by the way, okay, I understand what you're saying. You keep saying Otto, but there's another one that does the newspaper shit.
Yeah, that's what we see later. Yeah.
Yeah, so like whoever the Lord Battenbridge or whatever his name is, okay, he says he's the one who has like the tabloid, and we see it later. But I found the line.
What's the line?
He says, what Smokey said or what he said?
What Big Worm said.
Okay, he says, playing with my money is like playing with my emotions.
Emotions, yes. That's what I was trying to get to. You playing with my money is like playing with my emotions. That's what Otto said. Yeah. I messed up my own great line.
And he says, you know me, man. No, man, Friday. Let's just stream Friday and react to it live next episode.
We should do it. We should get a Discord. We keep getting listeners. Maybe we'll get a Discord. And interact with everyone. Shit. And so then cut to who shit I was just talking about. And they got two headlines ready. One that says the chancellor's ready to bail out the financial industry, basically calling them a sucker. And then another one for Ad Canule, Gus's old boss, who they're trying to institute as the new PM, basically saying that like she's gonna stand up to the banks, right, type of a thing. So then they cut to the Pierpoint floor. Everyone's down there partying. Rishi comes in losing, like, what the fuck are y'all doing here? Like, did y'all sell my shit? And they all high as shit. And Sweet Pea's like, look, Anraj, he did some ecstasy, dog. So, because Anraj is in the back, like, fuck you, Rishi. And then Sweet Pea says, Vinay's been calling the desk. And I was like, oh, he is ready for his money. Like, something's going to happen with this. And he comes over and he says, Rishi's bullshit. You got small man syndrome. And Rishi's freaking the fuck out. And
wait, do you have that? Because he literally says, your taste is shit. And you can't dress, and look at your car. Like he literally says like you're burnt. And I'm trying to figure out what it says. It's another great British slang.
He said you're whack, you twisted, and your girl's a hoe. You broke, the kid ain't yours, and everybody knows. That's what he said.
He said you boo-boo, you're turned down, you cheat. He said, I don't like the way you walk, I don't like the way you talk, I don't like the way you anything.
Yes. They're not going to.
That's a very American reference. If you get it, let us know.
Sweet Pea's like, I'm not finna let you torch my reputation selling your bullshit. And Rishi says, best of luck drowning. I'm like, you just sold them out like 5 minutes ago. You just said, fuck that. I ain't helping y'all get a job.
Crazy.
But Sweet Pea,
like, the way that these people get a buy is by like it's only about what's happening to them in the moment. Like they don't process like, oh, I deserve this. It's just like, wait, you tried to fuck me, you're dead. Even though like you've already killed that person. You're like, no, I can't believe you tried to fuck with me.
But Sweet Pea and Anraj, I like them because they're basically like, if this goes down, I'm just going to go to get another job. Like I'm smart enough to get another job. I don't have to like sell myself out for this fucking job.
Mm-hmm. What was the old girl's name? Venetia?
Yeah, she gone.
Yeah, Venetia left, but she was basically like trying to play the game or trying to figure it out. I don't know why I didn't like her, but I didn't like her. But Venetia was basically trying to play the game, and she was like basically thought she was smarter than everyone. And then she realized like, oh no, this shit really is toxic. I gotta go. But I like them because they're like, look, we're down a clown, but you kind of took this shit too far. And then, like we said, Anurag's just gonna do it. He's like, you know what? Technically, I'm still on payroll. Like I do whatever. And I really was surprised when Sweet Pea told him like, put the gun down. But I actually thought that it was like ultimately a very refreshing, very smart move for them to, like you said, they're like, it just shows, it goes back to like just the whole when Venetia came in and Yasmin was like trying to haze her the way she got hazed, and then all of a sudden they were like, oh, we don't haze anymore, and Yasmin was like, what the fuck? And it's just like a new generation really can make change just by saying fuck this. And I think that like we don't talk about that enough, that like if enough people don't give like this much credence to the company, it's the company can't treat people like shit. It's only because somebody will get up the next day and validate it that things continue to be this way. I think that's just like a key message of this show, whether people recognize that or not.
100%. We're coming up on 2 hours, so we got to wrap this up.
Okay, sorry.
No, not you. I was talking to myself. I felt like I was talking slow. So you're perfect. So when he walks out, there's someone fucking upstairs on the balcony in the party.
I mean, it ain't a Pierpoint party if somebody's not doing coke or having sex or both, or dying in the bathroom stall. One of the three.
So then they cut back to the meeting. It says 10 hours before U.S. Open, not the U.S. Open tennis, when the U.S. Stock Exchange opens. Adler says Mitsubishi's still in play. Tom turns to Wilhelmina. He's like, yeah, you haven't had, nothing you said has any value add. Eric laughs because he just was happy to see somebody say some shit to her. Tom tells Adler to get Mitsubishi in the room. Adler starts talking in Japanese, calls him. Then he calls Eric, and he's like, I've been preparing this for a while. And he was like, let's take a fast 20 to review the deck. And Eric's like, a fast 20 is still 20. And then they cut.
I mean, yeah, it's just like that corporate speak is so funny because it's like that doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything
at all.
They cut back to the hotel. Yaz is screaming. Rob comes barging in like something's wrong with her. She fucking cut herself and is tripping hard off those fucking pharmaceuticals.
Crazy shit. Crazy. She's like, ow, ow. I'm like, what the fuck is she? Is she okay?
Yaz asks Rob if she's a bad person. Rob's like, no, you're not a bad person.
Yeah,
no.
that is, his voice is so funny to me because I'm like, has his voice always been like that? And I think it has, but it just always blows me away when he talks like in his little like sad voice.
She's like, tell me I'm allowed to want to do bad things. He's like, what?
And he's like, what the fuck? You can do whatever the fuck. What? Like he's just genuinely confused.
And she's like, I want you, Rob. And then she says, you're hard. And Rob's like, snap the fuck out of it. Like, stop. Just shut the fuck up. Just snap the fuck out of it.
Well, because she just like, I think the thing is, whether he was or not, it's like, he's not actually wanting to have sex in this moment when he just found you broke your hand on glass. You're clearly high as fuck on mushrooms. If he wanted to have sex with you when you were sober, he would have done that. You know what I'm saying? So I think it just shows that, like we said, I think some of it shows that maybe like with her dad being gone, will maybe get like a different feeling out of her. Like maybe this would be what she needs to change. But like when Henry was coming after her, it seemed like it could be good because like, you know, like he said, who am I gonna fuck? Hillary Clinton? Like he's like, she's kind of like.
He also said Kamala Harris.
Yeah, exactly. He's like
equal opportunity.
Which let me not make jokes. So he like, I guess what I'm saying is like if you just want to do money wise, like yeah, like she was doing well to have sex with this like billionaire who's going to be good no matter what, like generational money, whatever. But he was the same person, right? Like you said to Robert in another episode, I just keep dating my dad and different people. So I think what I'm trying to say is that like when she did that at first, you didn't think it would be that bad. You're like, because he was showing her a good side of him, but then you're like, oh shit, same guy, same thing she's always done. Like this is a bad decision for her. And so what he holds her after she says the thing about muck, he holds her, and because she's like, what the fuck? And it just made me realize how bad I feel for her, because like she truly just has never had a man who like actually cared about her. And so that's why the Robert thing is so confusing to her.
She says Henry used to get hard when she cried too.
Yeah, that's crazy to say.
Then they cut in the bathroom. Eric and Tom are in the bathroom. Tom says Adler he's like, there's some self-centeredness to Bill's romanticization of Pierpoint, self-heroism. He wants to feel like he saved the company. And he was hoping Bill would be his mouthpiece for the wider Pierpoint family. And he says to Eric, are you a romantic? What do you believe in? Eric says, I don't believe in anything. I believe in the trade when it works and when it stops working, which is like giving a signal to Tom. Move. And Tom says,
nostalgia. That was smart for him to say that.
Yes. He says, nostalgia is only useful when you're selling something. Adler walks in and he's on fucking cloud nine. He's got like this big smile on his fucking face because he thinks his plan's about to go down. Adler asks, how does it look? Because Eric's looking at the deck, right, for the numbers and shit. And Eric looks in the mirror.
Yeah.
And he looks at something that seems off. And instead of saying it, he says perfect.
Lingers. And so basically, and like at the highest level, basically finance is bullshit. I think that's another thing we've been talking about throughout this show, right? So in business, like when you sell something, there's like, it's called a multiple. And the idea is like, yeah, we might say it's worth 100,000, but the multiple is 10. So it's really worth $1 million. And I'm going to say it's bullshit because I don't fully understand it, but I do believe if I was to fully understand it, I would still think it was bullshit. So anyway, the multiple is like 9 something. So saying like, we're going to get this return. It's like you want your multiple to be high as possible without it seeming, but like on the other end, Lumi might have had like a crazy big multiple that was like not real. So anyway, the multiple is supposed to be based on like the entire value of the firm. So like enterprise value is literally like if somebody was to buy the business right now, they would sell like, so if a business is made of like basically cash, things that you cannot sell that are not liquid, and then a debt, right? So if you would use all the cash to pay off the debt, and then what do you have left after that? That's how much the company is worth. What they base the multiple off of though is the wrong number. They based it off of just only how much cash they had. And so basically they pumped the numbers up too high, and that's what it is basically. So and that's what comes up later, because when they go to page 12 and shit is so confusing. But I was just like wanting to sit down and do a little bit more like research to be able to explain it.
Yeah, but the key here is Eric has a chance to tell him that something's off, and he doesn't. He tells him it's perfect. Then they cut to Yaz and Rob leaving the hotel room. And that girl clearly liked Rob, but they leave. They laugh. Yasmin laughs at her Libra tat, like her Libra tat on her back. And so then we get the Mitsubishi meeting, which is a key point in this show. And I'm going to play that here.
Our proposal is that the Mitsubishi Financial Group invest $9 billion in equity in Pierpoint for a 19% interest in the company on a fully diluted basis. How did that get there?
That felt like Shark Tank. You ever watch Shark Tank? And they're like, we'll give you $120,000 for a 21% interest in your company.
As I was saying, our friends at Mitsubishi are the best partners we could have. They have enough dry powder to buy up our distressed debt and to support the other assets on our books. And they want us to be us. They have reverence for our name.
We want to help build Pierpoint back to what it could be in its 150th year.
We expect a very healthy ROI for you on a decade-long horizon. But of course, apologies for the small inaccuracy on page 12.
He did that shit so smooth, too. It's so fucking smooth.
What inaccuracy?
I'm assuming this reference is linked incorrectly. It looks like you are linking to enterprise value instead of equity value. It's causing a 15% decrease in the true PE multiple, which should otherwise be 7.6 times. Well, below peers.
I'm so sorry we missed this. That's like a 2 to 3% uplift in IRR.
After 10 years of what we know will be a mutually beneficial relationship.
How could we have missed that? It's sloppy. Eric?
No, it's fine. Leave it. It's late. It happens. It's just a book.
That's a huge decrease in the valuation. How didn't I spot it?
Bill, you did spot it.
When?
We ran through it about an hour ago. I raised it again in the bathroom just now. You said wasn't a deal breaker in the room that they know the numbers already.
He made a choice.
That's dirty.
That's so
That's
fucked
dirty.
up.
Mm-hmm.
But part of me thought, the first time I watched this, I thought, and I'm gonna play the rest of the scene, but I hold on, we'll get to it at the end. Hold on.
Which they do. We can move on.
That didn't happen. Did it?
It's not mission critical here.
No, it is. When did we discuss it? I don't think we did we? Maybe I'm just misremembering.
I think you can move on.
You have to understand, it's very important that I didn't misremember.
Bill.
What's going on?
Hey, Bill. There's no shame.
I'm so sorry. I've been quite sick, and I really didn't want to bring it up in this forum, but
you are fit to continue.
Ooh, he's so wrong.
Gentlemen and lady, could you give us 5?
This isn't what we expect in these circumstances.
No, there should be multiple layers of review. My apologies.
I'm so sorry. I should have just breezed past it, but it's quite important. It's quite important for my prognosis.
What's wrong with you?
I have a malignant tumor. I've not noticed much, if any, cognitive impairment. That's why it's...
And you've been keeping this to yourself? You shouldn't be in here. Your health is of paramount importance.
My performance has never been compromised.
Apart from when it just mattered. High stress, no sleep. This isn't the place for a sick man. Look, I want you to go home. That isn't a suggestion.
I'm fit to work if I say I'm fit to work.
I want you to go rest.
Eric, why don't you put Bill in a cab?
It's okay. Come on.
This scene, so at first time I watched this, and then the subsequent scene, which I'll just skip to really quick, where Eric says, Adler's leaving. He says, hey, I'm gonna go get some sleep. I'll be good. Everything will be good. And Eric says, actually, why don't you stay home for your health? And Adler says, no, bro, I'm just gonna get sleep and be good. And he's like, actually, peer to peer, stay home. More time for your family so the institution doesn't suffer. And Adler kind of opens his eyes really big and he looks around and he realizes what Eric did. And he says, for what? He's like, what did you get from that? And Eric just kind of stares at him and he goes away. The first time I saw these two scenes, I thought Eric, the first time I watched it, was doing that because he thought this was not good for Adler. and Adler was never going to leave on his own. And so he had to fuck him over in order for him to leave. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh no. Eric last episode said to Harper, Harper said to Eric last time, you see people as a means to an end. And you will always see people as a means to an end. You're just mad that I'm doing what you taught me to do. And Eric was just using Adler as a means to an end to get up, to get a higher standing in the new realm. If you remember it earlier, Wilhelmina said becoming a partner just means you're at the bottom of the ladder of a new ladder, like in a new realm. And he's trying to climb that ladder, and he just used it as a means to the end. What do you think, Chanel?
I think that's all correct. Like, this is one of those shows that it's multiple things at one time, and it kind of depends on how cynical you want to be. But yeah, like, I had a similar viewing. I did pick up on, like, he said exactly what Adler need to hear to be like, oh, you just fucked me, got it. What I will say is that I think he did do the right thing ultimately because, okay. Adler wasn't doing anything wrong yet, but he probably was in a decision-making position where he should have been able to disclose everything. And like in real life, this is probably true that if you disclose that, people will push you out. But I think that if it was a time of peace and not a wartime, he might have been okay, right? They would have like given him his flowers and like gave him a golden parachute. I think the problem is that he wanted to work there until the end because one is going to keep, even though it's a lot of stress and unnecessary bother, it's going to keep him sharp, right? Like that's how he knows if he's declining or not because he's still on it and nobody can tell. And so what he said, so what was really sad was Eric having him doubt his own sanity for a second, because I think that that's probably like the saddest part of all of this is like, he's just trying to have meaning in his life until things are done, because he's just like, yeah, like this is terminal, but I can do this. And yeah, like that, like if was real life, it would be like epically terrible and heartless to do that. But I do think there's like a 1% of me that's like, maybe Adler should have thought about what his step down plan would have been anyway. And because like, what if he had been put up to CEO, what we have done? So there's that part. Eric, I think at first, I think I texted you and I said, Eric ain't shit. What did I say? I said, okay. I said, fuck Eric. And I said, wait, never mind. He did that. Like, it kind of like hit me as I was rewatching it. Like, Eric was being shisty. And I think what I don't like about these situations is people are never like clear. I think it's one thing if I go against you and I told you I didn't agree with you, right? Or I told you I wasn't rocking with you. Like the reason why these are betrayals is because people will be like, yep, I got you, I'm your ally, and then they will actively fuck you. And they might decide in a second like that. Like it's not something they like premeditated, but that's kind of what throws you off, because you really cannot trust anyone because like they're just genuinely not trustworthy. So I think I say all that to say like Eric did probably do what is best for the firm. And I think on another level, he also clearly did what's best for his career. And the reason why it's interesting though is because, we talked in the beginning about like, is he an ESG hire, right? Like what they really mean is DEI, right? But like, is he a DEI hire? Is he only there because he's like one of the high, like, is he really institutional knowledge, or he's just the Asian man in the room? And I think on some level he was like, I might not be able to trust any white people, but I might have thought Adler was a white person I could trust, but like I might as well take my chance with other people who don't see me as always their number two, right? Like calling him a lieutenant even in the beginning of the meeting was like tying him to him permanently. And I think as what Wilhelmina had said, like you need to differentiate yourself and show that you're not his company man, because if you are, when he goes, you go. And so Eric kind of had to do this, but having to do it in that way is terrible. And I'm glad you brought up what Harper said, because you're right. Like, it's like, yeah, he met his motherfucking match with Harper, but that doesn't mean that he didn't also, like, by happenstance, meet somebody who's like we see each other, like what they had there. She just out freaked him. But he's still this guy. And I think I'll always bring it back to he is a person of color in a white dominated industry. Is this what it takes for him to stay ahead? Because just regular old networking and being a nice guy won't get you there.
Absolutely. And I didn't realize we had this many people watching on YouTube, and sending messages. So I'm sorry I didn't shout out your messages. Next week for the finale.
Next week for the finale, you need to get me to YouTube.
Well, no, I can put the messages on screen and stuff. I just didn't turn it on today. So next week for the finale.
Need a producer is what we really need. Go ahead.
Next week for the finale, I'll have the messages in OBS and we'll interact with the chat live on YouTube. But thank you all for listening. We really do appreciate it. So let's finish this up. They cut to Yaz and Rob. Yaz basically tells Denise she ain't taking Rose's offer. She thought about the implications. Hanadi is the company is the one that's inhumane, not her. And Denise is like, did you even think about the victims? She's like, yes, bitch, I thought about them, but it's them or me. The fuck you want me to say?
Click. And then she bangs on her. She hangs up, and I'm like, Yasmin's hung up on everybody she's talked to this episode. Like, say, give it an awkward pause and say goodbye. Like, she's hung up on what's his name was like, all right, bye to you too then. Like, she just loves clicking the phone off on people.
Rob comes back. He says, look, they ain't ready to go right now, but they're interested in like getting some Silicon Valley money. And so they kind of want me to be their money person and go get some of this VC money from Silicon Valley. And if I do, I'll be head of business development. And Yaz was like, oh, that's fucking great. Hold up. Does that mean you got to move to the States? And he's like, maybe. So they're throwing that little Easter egg out. And then the last scene was the Pierpoint meeting.
But also, let's be clear. If Robert needs to go to Silicon Valley to have a better life, it needs to be away from you. There's no good she's going to do for him in the next 5 years. Like, because he's still going to want to take care of her, but like, I still fear that he wouldn't live his life fully as a result of that.
Absolutely. 100%. Tom says he hopes Adler gets the care he needs. He heard that tumors affects people's willingness to take risks. I just love this meeting. This is like exactly what would happen. Wilhelmina says, I take some responsibility for the ESG, but this was really Bill's fucking shit. And Wilhelmina looks over to Eric to get the cosign, and this is when Eric makes the decision to cosign. He goes, yeah, he's been a little bit off recently.
Wait, no. She said, I screamed. She says, I was bullish on ESG, but like he's the one who had the connections. And Eric said, I told you he has that face, right? That face is either like, I'm so confused, I don't know what's happening, or very conniving. And he goes, yes. I'll tell you, yes. Like he had all these options. He goes, exactly. That's the narrative we're going to go. Like the point was what got me. He said, that's it. That's the narrative. We're about to fuck him. Let's do it.
Tom says, we can't let somebody go because of their decline in health. But Eric is the closest to him. If you think an infinite period of absence would be in Adler's best interest, it's something it's something the board could consider. And Eric says, he does seem a little out of sorts. And then someone just gets up and leaves. He's just like, oh, this is bullshit. And just got he didn't say it, but that's basically what he was doing.
I was also wondering, is he about to go do it? Is he about to go start the paperwork? That was my other option.
And then the old dude was like, pinning all this on the sick man is morally unconscionable. But tomorrow's more important than yesterday for Pierpoint. Fuck it. And so
crazy.
And Tom says, so fuck him, right? I starts laughing. And Eric says, and he goes, Eric, what about Mitsubishi? And Eric immediately, Mitsubishi's bullshit. That's why I brokered the introduction. He's like, he said something about the golf people. So I brokered the introduction with people from that area. And here comes Ali's ass with his Egyptian people that basically got him on the Adler put there, got him the job.
Egyptian. You better hope they're Egyptian.
No, they said
the wrong country.
No, they said they were Egyptian when he asked him about who he is. And he said, and Adler said that the Egyptian people had some type of stake and they knew something, so they got him a job. They were really rich people. They imagined their money. And so Adler got this dude a job, and then Eric used him to basically shit on his fucking idea to save the company. Amazing. And that was the end of the show. 2 hours and 8 minutes, the longest episode ever. Anything else you got to say before we drop?
We never did a House of Dragons episode. We never did a House of Dragons episode this long.
No. But by the way, our last episode of Industry, episode 6, Nikki Beach, is our third highest ranked episode we've ever done of this show.
I think it's just a matter of like the brand is growing. You know, Bodega Boys, their brand was Brolic and then they broke up, and we just decided to be the next brand that's going to be a bodybuilder, and we're just going to pump this shit up as far as we can go. And we're taking steroids and pre-workout before we record, and we're just asking you guys to grow with us. So keep liking, subscribing, sharing. We really like it. Literally means something. You've never liked, subscribed, or shared anything before. That was all bullshit. They were just lying to you. It means something now. You can be a part of this movement because, like Brandon said, we're number one industry podcast. We can stay number one for our next podcast that we do for Penguin. It's going to be really hard to compete in the space of Penguin because everyone wants to talk about it. It's a huge DC movie. Huge DC feature. Like, it's huge. Please help us to be like a voice that people listen to as far as that show goes so that we don't get drowned out. We love you guys for listening. You can always email us at WeWasDragonsPod. We will eventually switch over to email, but for now, you're golden. Stay there. We're on x.com, previously Twitter at WeWasWatching. We're on YouTube at youtube.com /@WeWasWatching. And we are, as you know, anchor.fm /WeWasPodcast. And generally speaking, we are just all over the place, trying to be there for you, hear your feedback. Please answer the poll. Please send comments on the show on Spotify or anywhere else you're listening. Please give us those reviews and please share with your friends because we are trying to do a live show in London and eat Jamaican food in the next 2 years.
So say the thing.
And so, therefore, buy the dip, short the VIX, and fuck Bitcoin.